Podcast Arise!
'Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 38 of Lost in Appalachianmon. I'm May.
And I'm Jay.
And this week, we watched Appmon episode 38, Take Back the Gatchmon, Grandpa Denimon's Trial. So, favourite bits. What are your favourite bits? Because I liked the whole thing. It was great.
So I want to pick out the individual moments. So, first of all, one of the most notable things about the episode was that when they see the Appmon again, it is not actually very contrived. It is just the grandpa goes, you know what? You cut the link with them. They didn't die. They just went elsewhere. And I gathered them, and they're right here. You can talk to them. Okay, so they go up and they talk to them, and the Appmon, and you go, oh no, please don't retry chapter 3 or whatever.
Chapter 4, yeah.
Chapter 4. Doesn't mean that thing in Try that hopefully everyone's seen and didn't get spoiled by just now. And, you know, so the Appmon don't remember them. However, the Appmon don't remember them in an interesting way. Like, Gatchmon just goes, Haru, who's that? I'll search the internet. I don't know who this is.
Yeah, how do you know my name?
Dokamon is like a bit more of a like, I'm too manly for this. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, I don't need a girl. I'm too tough. I'm too strong to need a girl.
The two big ones are Musimon, who's like, I do not understand the jive lingo you are throwing around, small child. Like he's acting like he's much more mature than this.
And he's using really polite terminology. And when the Appmon walk off, he just bows and he says, okay, goodbye.
And then Hackmon is a weird, like, he's not the quiet Hackmon that we know. He's like a weird manic, hack, I'm going to hack you, ha ha, are you ready to be hackud?
And then he goes, hakuchu, ha ha ha, just kidding.
So the implication of this is what we've always kind of suspected, which is that if the Appmon are not linked by, or Digimon in general are not linked by the Digivice, then the thing that makes them like genetically designed to be paired with these kids goes away, and they return to normal. And that normal can be, in certain circumstances, a whole different personality. So the show's never going to go into it because it's depressing.
Oh, yeah, that's really, really depressing. And the fact that they even... Well, the grandpa did actually say, oh yeah, they're completely different otherwise. So it is, like, it's not like you have to dig deep to find this as a theory. This is, like, stated.
Well, it's very clear in this episode that that's the case. We've always sort of gone, maybe that's the case in the other ones.
But that is really depressing. Like, oh, who are you?
Well, it's that they're not really your friends. Your Appli drives are just mind controlling them to say they're your friends. So that's one thing. Next, we go into the minor bit, which is also very important, which is, especially compared to the Frontier coverage we're just doing. Last episode, Eugene got into a fight with the Ultimate Four, and then the other kids went to sleep. They wake up in the morning and say, we have to help Eugene. And you already know Eugene's screwed.
Yeah.
And you cut to Eugene. He's unconscious, and Naito is looking at him. And he clearly beat him, and then he goes, well, I would kill him, but Leviathan doesn't want me to. I don't know why, but he doesn't want me to.
Yeah, so it's showing this continuity where, when we're covering Frontier in every episode, where, like, if you looked at the first episode and this episode, like, you don't know, there's no foreshadowing, there's no slight bits to hint here or there. But in this, like, this is something that we saw in episode 1 where he was a bit dodgy, and then in episode 13 he had red eyes.
I mean, directly, it is partly related to that. It's the bad guys beat the good guy and then they don't kill him. There must be a reason. And because of that foreshadowing that you mentioned, you know there's something going on here. But more subtly than that, it implies that Naito is not let in on all the secrets.
Yeah, so...
He's also just a goon.
Yeah, even though Naito basically says, yeah, I'm fully aware of what he's doing, and it's almost like Neo from V-Tamer in that way, that he's like, well, I know that he's evil. I'm also evil. I'm not just being a pawn. But then we find out maybe Naito is a bit of a pawn. Like he's not being told something that might be very important. So maybe he's not as powerful as he thinks he is.
And it also directly implies that whatever's going on with Eugene is directly related to Leviathan at the highest levels.
Yeah. And his mother.
Who might not be real.
Who might be Leviathan.
That would be a really funny twist, but they've never introduced her as a character, like, at all.
Except for that one scene, which is so weird.
I mean, like, to the other kids or anything, so it wouldn't have any impact to it. I think she's just a robot. And Leviathan's just a weird thing on the internet. Unless, like... the core Leviathan, whatever, is stored inside Eugen, who is a robot or something.
Maybe.
It's a bit of a stretch. Okay, so there's that, and then
The point is, whatever's happening with Eugen, I'm worried that my hopes are too high for whatever's going with Eugen, like the big reveal, because it's not like, oh, did you know that the L in L Corp stands for Leviathan? It's not like one of
That was
those.
funny.
This seems like actually something that like you can't guess, and it's not explicitly obvious what's happening there.
Well, right now, it seems like the opposite of Frontier in the sense that they seem like they have an idea with Eugen from the beginning.
Oh yeah, since episode 1, as I was saying, we saw bits and pieces throughout the show. Like, it's not like they're just coming up with ideas week to week. They clearly have things planned.
And then we got the grandpa showing up. And he shows up in the
vending machine, yeah.
And he shows up and he's a little pixel character, and Haru goes, "Why do you look like Hyper Mario?" And he has to cover himself because he's trying to say Super Mario.
Yeah.
But he can't, so he's saying Hyper instead of Super, and it says Mario and gets cut off instead of Mario.
Yeah, he gets interrupted by his grandpa.
Because the grandpa like bounces around, goes more, and goes into warp pipes and stuff. It's really obvious.
Yeah.
There's a great bit when later on as well, I think it's Astra's like, "Why do you look like Hyper Mario?" And even like
Ray
has to gag him.
Yeah. It's so cute. It's funny.
The grandpa is fun. I wouldn't. He's more neutral for me because he's just kind of there being an exposition piece.
No, we both found it funny when the kids are just staring off in the distance because their Appmon don't remember them, and he's just standing there, and then he starts screaming, "Haru!"
Yeah. So they're given this quest to go to the top of a mountain and find a phone booth, and the kids all go, "What, guys? What's a phone booth?"
Which is really funny because, well, yeah, of course, younger kids would not know what a phone booth is.
And despite that, they go up the mountain and they have a bit of a speech of like, "Oh, we gotta rely on ourselves, and this is for our friends."
And
blah,
Astra
blah, blah.
Astra got everyone pumped, and Eri was strong and helping Haru up the cliff.
Which is nice. And then they almost make it to the top. There's a big ice dude. They have a snowboarding thing down this sign that says there's 100 meters left. And
Haru lands, which is really plot convenient, but the way that they applaud him with surprise, it's just like, yeah, no, that's fine.
yeah, so that he slides down the mountain by himself and flings off a ramp and lands on the snowboard that everyone else is on. And just Eri just does a little polite
Both
clap.
of them, both Eri and Astra, just go clap, 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 clap.
Then they get their Digimon back because they activate their crests, a la
Basically,
Try.
it is a lot like activating their crests. Though in Try, they didn't get their memories back. That's the thing.
They have a really, really long evolution animation, which
I like it. Look, they're showcasing a new thing, and to be fair, at least they didn't show each of them as a full one. We got Haru by himself because he's the protagonist, and then we got Rei, Eri, and Astra as like a three-way split with bits in between.
the only good bit of the anime of those, because it's actually entertaining, is their individual beginnings of it, which is Haru does the full insertion me because you've seen Eugen do it. Aries is explosive insertion.
Yeah.
Astra's is rhythmic insertion, and then Ray, with no big flurry or anything, he just holds it up to his face and goes insertion. It just sort of touches it with no flair at all.
And like Eri's got so much passion in the way she's moving around, but the thing is, her expression is really serious, so I really like that. And Astra's like, he's looking like he's having a great day. He's just
always
like,
having a great day.
This is the best day of my life, and he's just jumping around. And then there's Ray saying, well, none of this jumping around is really necessary, so insertion, and he just touches it, and I really like that. And that's the thing, we haven't really seen that many evolutions throughout Digimon where they have their custom sort of bits. I mean, we had the different ways to card slash and the different ways to matrix evolve in Tamers, and in Frontier, I guess they had the different hand movements, but they were more or less sort of the same. This is like very much different animation, and it's really, really fun to see. And the insert song, and I know we've heard a bit of it before, but this is like, it was much louder and much better this time. It was so exciting.
So we'll skip through the little fight because it doesn't matter, and we get to when all the kids sort of meet up again, and the two good ones were Eri and Dokumon, who's like, she's just ignoring him, like, you forgot me. He's like, what? Why would I do that? No, come on, let's high five. Oh, we just won, come on. And Ray and Hakmon, who are like, you cool? Yeah, all right, sweet.
Yeah, yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Okay. They just don't even look at each other, but they're bros.
But the thing is that, no, they look at each other and they turn away, and it's sort of like, oh, they do love each other. They're so cute. And of course, Astra's just, saying, do you dig it? Do you dig it? And it's so cute.
Can you dig it?
Oh, I love them.
Astra!
It's so cute.
So that's all the best bits of the episode. I think I've covered it.
Well,
Which you'll note we went through most of the episode.
Yeah, and you can really tell a good episode. And it was the same with the app idol election episode, where we basically go through the whole synopsis of the episode. But there was a bit that I did like, and I didn't want to say too much when watching the episode because I wanted to focus on the episode. But it was when Haru looks through the keyhole to say, "I wonder how we can get in."
Oh yeah.
And of course, there's like an eye sensor there, and it opens the door. And I was just saying, compare this to how we've seen in Frontier, where it's just sort of like, we need to get them from point A to point B. Let's just put them on a train going to the moon and then not show the train.
Well, to be fair, that did exist, but it wasn't the cornea scan or whatever.
It was when they land when they land on the sled. That was convenient.
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is I giving a full explanation. Oh yeah, by the way, before his bookshop, we had like this private library system, and also I think maybe your grandfather was a customer and rented a room. Who knows? We'd never talked about this before because it wasn't relevant then.
Yeah, but I know that but that's the point. Like the thing is, no one had asked before. Everyone was just kind of like, okay, there's a thing here. And then in this episode, when Haru thinks that there's something up here because his grandfather said there was, he asks. So it's not like it ever came up in conversation before. It's not like I was not telling them things.
And also, it is consistent in world. You know what scientists like? They like libraries, and they will maybe sometimes hire rooms, which he's done before. And if he was really like paranoid, which he was at the end, that would also make sense. So you can see this one directly up. It's not like, oh, I had my grandfather's notebook this whole time, and some of it was written in invisible ink until Astra sang in a particular note, and then it just showed up.
No, Eri does an explosive punch, and the explosive punch puts words on the page.
Yeah, she punched the book hard enough that it wrote itself.
But the thing is, it made sense. Like, there's a locked door. You look through the keyhole to see if you can find anything, or maybe you can see something. And he does that. And of course, it opens up because it's a retina scanner. And I don't know, I just thought that was really cool. And maybe it's because we're just watching Frontier at this point, and we're just saying, wow, some of these things are just happening because they're plot convenient to happen, and this way they're actually doing things that are plot convenient. But they're giving them enough explanation that it actually doesn't seem so bad. Am I right?
A lot of things do look better in when you compare them to Frontier, it's true.
However, when they landed on the sled, I was thinking it's a lot like landing on the train.
Yeah.
But the characters actually, like, clapped, and I was like, well, that kind of makes it better in a way.
That, and, like, there is a reasonable world in which they go off the same slope in the same direction, and the heavier party lands first, and then there was a world in which that made sense. It was obviously a bit absurd, but it's not the same thing.
The thing is, it was absurd. I think it would have been worse if they didn't clap.
The most absurd thing is he lands like already sitting down.
Yeah, and Eri and Ash would go, oh, nice. Clap, 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 clap.
It's fine. It honestly, if a show does something, I know I always go off on Digimon for doing, that makes no sense. This is totally nonsense, and I don't understand. If a show does something nonsense, that's okay, as long as the show's like, we know. We are aware that we did this. We're not hand-waving away so we don't need to make excuses for how poor the story is. It's, okay, just suspend your disbelief on this point. Like, the writer looks at you as like, okay, we know. Now let's move on, okay? And you're like, okay, fine. You have treated me like an adult, and I will accept that. You've made fun of yourself a little bit. A little applause.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's all right.
And it was sort of like, it's not too much out there. Like, it's not, they go into space and all of a sudden there's Eugen on a sled.
Yeah, it's not like
It's not a far off thing with a character you didn't even know was there. We knew that the kids were there.
It's not like they were flying down the sled and they crash into the forest and like they keep running away from the beast and all of a sudden, I don't know, Haru trips and oh my god, I found the AppliDrive duos in the snow here. That was lucky, right?
Yeah.
And you go, well, that's stupid. What's the likelihood that would have happened?
Yeah, so the point is, I really liked this episode. There were lots of favourite bits. Do we even have any negatives?
I wish they had addressed the fact that their AppliDrives mind control the Appmon and they're not actually their friends.
Yeah, but that, as you said, that is depressing.
It is.
I think that might be too heavy for kids.
I
feel like if someone told me that when I was a kid watching Digimon, that would just bum me out. It is so sad. Like, they're not... these creatures and their characters are completely different to what they are when they're linked. They are being basically brainwashed and mind controlled to like these kids.
Well, Gatchmon's probably similar. If he had been given a Gachi snack, I think he would have got the enthusiasm back.
Well, his character was the same. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's not too bad. But then to see Hackmon being this completely crazy, jumping everywhere. I'm going to hack you. I'm
That's
going to hack
the
you.
worst one.
And Musimon being so polite and not fun-loving.
Well, that was interesting because it's kind of a reference back to Astra, because that's what he would have been like without Musimon.
Oh, yeah, and it does sort of fit in that way. And I guess you could say it's like, oh, how have these children shaped the personalities of these apps? And maybe they just evolved to have similar personalities than them. Maybe that's what Musimon was like. But it's just, Hackmon's too much of a stretch. That how could you go from one to another? Like, that's where it gets a bit depressing.
I feel differently where I'm like, they all seemed consistent to what that app would be without influence, except for Musimon, who, the music app would never be like this. He's wearing big headphones. Why would he be so, why would his personality be so, like, dour and
Well,
uptight?
that's like a reference to, obviously, as you said, Astra's
But that's the
home
thing.
life.
All the other four would have been like this with no interaction with the kids at all. You think that's what they would... Hackmon, that seems accurate to what he would have been like. I accepted that as a reasonable alternative. Whereas Musimon, like, it seemed like they couldn't really figure out how to make him have a character that wouldn't have gotten along with Astra anyway. That's all right. Yeah, honestly, I can't think of negatives that were important to bring up.
Like, I guess we could say, like, the animation sequences, but I feel like that was 100% necessary because you're showcasing a new thing.
For me, I always thought it's weird. They're like, oh my god, our standard Appmon are 1.5 times stronger.
Because it's with the duo, and we know the duo powers them up.
Now that I think about it, if you were to bring up like Globemon, if he was 1.5 times stronger, that would actually be a huge deal.
Maybe we haven't actually seen what it's like. I mean, we've seen Shotmon, but
and they might not have timers anymore.
Maybe, like, it'll be interesting to see if they still have the timer.
Which was irrelevant anyway.
Well, Shotmon doesn't have the timer.
Yeah.
And he's also Kiwami.
So we'll see. And that's the end of that. The only miscellaneous I can think of is the weird inclusion of Caught Up Man, where he's in the truck, and I think it was Minerva taking over the system to make it honk. I don't think he was doing it.
No, it was Minerva taking over the system because we saw the camera zoom in and zoom out.
So it's making his truck honk, and and he's driving, and you cut to Haru, and it cuts back to the truck, and you're like, is this Frontier? It's gonna get hit by a truck.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna hit him,
and then it wasn't, and it was just Haru drawing his attention back to the vending machine that he's seen before, which is fine. I'm beginning to really suspect that Caught Up Man is lots of different people who look the same.
Maybe. But
because he's a surgeon as well as a truck driver.
I think there might just be... No, we just look... Like, oh, you're brothers? No, we just look alike.
Oh, that would be... I'm sure we've mentioned this before, but that would be the best, like, punchline for that joke.
Yeah, like, oh, they're not actually... You know, he's not a surgeon and also a courier. And also, he has lots of girlfriends. Or doesn't have lots of girlfriends.
They weren't girlfriends. They were just screaming people who liked his underwear. Now,
there was a miscellaneous bit that I was about to mention, but I just could not for the life of me remember it. And it was quite interesting. And I just completely lost it when I started thinking about the Caught Up Man. He's just distracting. No, what was it? I'm really annoyed with myself. This is really annoying. Okay, what were we talking about? The miscellaneous bits.
That's it.
Oh, there was something. God, I'm really annoyed with myself. I'm going to remember this after we record, or after I upload the episode, and it's going to be so annoying.
Okay.
Oh my god, what is it? Oh, this is really annoying.
There's that bit where Haru's grandfather almost died.
Wait, no,
he dropped some change to not die. Like he fell, he went to pick it up and a car crashed into his vending machine.
Oh yes, no, I remember. Okay, I remember what it was, and I'm really happy.
Yeah.
Because it was when Ray goes to save Haru, and Haru says, "Oh, thanks," and then like when Haru's arm moves away, he closes his hand. He's like, I can't lose anyone else.
Oh, that's cute.
So it's like his like subtle way of basically saying, these are my friends.
I like people now.
Yeah, and it's like not in a loud way of like, oh, but now I learned to like people. And yeah, now it's sort of like he's accepting them as friends, and that's really cute. It kind of reminds me of Ruki in that way.
Oh yeah.
Favorite character? Because I really like Ray and Hackmon. Because we haven't seen much for a while.
You know what? Yeah, I think it might be.
And it wasn't like they weren't a huge part of the episode, but they were there enough that we haven't really seen much of them. And he doesn't want to lose anyone. He lost his brother. He doesn't know where his brother is. His brother got operated on by Biomon. Which is still horrifying. And yeah, I think they're the best because they're just so different. Like, they're not like gonna hug and cry or like, you know, ignore them saying, oh, you forgot about me, so I'm ignoring you now. They just sort of go, are you ready to go? Yeah.
All right, cool.
It's so cute. It's so cute. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good, man.
So for ranking, I put this in 4th place. So that's just under the Road to the Top idol, Coachmon's intensive training. And just above, the NetOcean is in a big pinch, the time has come, Ultimate App Fusion. I feel like that's a good place for it because I almost put it above the Coachmon episode, but then I remembered that wonderful line, which was, Eri, I have a confession. I'm one of Leviathan's henchmen. That doesn't matter. Yes, it does. There's Haru in distance screaming. So basically, we have a pretty strong cover of every episode to the top of that list. So next time we'll be watching the new power, the AppliDrive Duo. And we saw I guess skip 15 seconds if you don't want spoilers from the next episode, but we saw the preview and Scopemon's in it as a ghost because they're going to the Appmon cemetery. So that's going to be exciting. So you can email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment this episode or message us on SoundCloud. You can follow us on @TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on LostinTranslationmon on Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, and YouTube. We have a discussion thread on With the Will and a red thread in the Appmon subreddit, and we'd really appreciate if you would review us on iTunes and or Stitcher. Remember, those iTunes reviews really do help other people find us, and that's really great because the more people listen, like, the better we feel about ourselves. Don't make me feel good, please. We also have a website where you can check out my Appli ranking, and that's LostinTranslationmon.com. You can also donate to our Patreon, which is linked in the description, from as little as $1 a month, which gets you access to our Slack chat group, but higher rewards and higher levels get you other things. So you can check that out if you want.
And thank you to our Patreon supporters, Sam Krieger, who hosts a podcast called The Moncast, which talks about Pokemon and Digimon. Stevie, who is Stevie Padmon on Tumblr and is currently taking commissions. Wu Qinglong, who you can find at twitch.tv/Wu Qinglong. Metal Mamemon, Joe, Anime Guy, who is Anime Guy Kurosaki and the #1 on YouTube. Penguin Mage, Chakmon, Ishbel Bumba, Hiro Olato, who is at Hiro Olato on Twitter. Jason Morosky, Ryuchi, who is Frost Moragic on Archive of Our Own. Stephen Reeves, who is at Wildwing64 on Twitter. Kaidawashi, Mac, Noam, Riku, Red and Garen from Breakfast with the Versus podcast. Every time. Red and Garen from the Versus podcast, which you can find on SoundCloud. Shisai, who you can follow at Shisai236 on Tumblr. Corey, Kyle, The Lady Bugman, whose anime blog you can find at baguburagu.wordpress.com. Small Wolfie, who's on Tapastic as Small Wolfie and has a comic called Eden of Melancholy. Tom, Glitchgoat, Azra McCool, Nicholas, Matthew, and Anthony.
And as of this morning, also Lizmet.
Oh, awesome!
Yay! So we got over the milestone.
Yay!
So yay! And you can also make one donation on PayPal, which you found in the description. It's paypal.me/Edgemon. Make sure to listen to us for the podcast. We'll see you guys next time. Bye. Opsin?
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you start looking at the computer all confused?
I was trying to see what the time was, and it looked like 1:45 at this distance.
Nah.
It was 10.
Don't you have the time on your phone?
I do, but I just wasn't looking at it at the time.
Okay, so mine's always there, the top.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at my phone at the time.
Oh, okay. You ready for synopsis? I guess you don't really have to be ready.
Exactly.
Because I'm just asking you the questions.